New Jersey Devils hockey is brought to you in part by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. Devils celebrated their recent past earlier tonight. Welcome back, everyone. Matt Loughlin, along with Stan Fischler, and our distinguished guest during our first intermission, the Commissioner of the National Hockey League, Gary Bettman. Mr. Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us.
It's great to be here. At the start of another season. It was a beautiful ceremony, great crowd when there are lots of things going on in the New York, New Jersey area, so it's fun to be here.
So early on, as the season has just gotten underway, what do you like about what you've seen so far?
Well, what I really like is the flow of the game. Tonight's first period was a very good example. Up and down the ice, good flow, good scoring chances, particularly by the Devils tonight, and I think we're off to a great start.
Can we go from necessary roughness after unnecessary roughness? Let me ask you.
What are you talking about?
I have what I consider a rough question for you. Everybody wants to exult in the season, but there's this cloud hanging over it. Everybody else is talking about the collective bargaining agreement, possibility of a work stoppage. I keep reading that the union, the players' union, does not want to allow what we consider, you mentioned as cost certainty, what some people say is a hard cap. Why are they so opposed to a hard cap or cost certainty when it works in the NFL? What is their reasoning? What do they tell you?
Well, they tell us that in general terms, because I really don't want to speak for them, they tell us that they want a free market. I think it's a lot of rhetoric because there's really never been a free market. There wasn't a free market prior to 1988 when there was a reserve clause and a perpetual option and there was no salary disclosure. And even in the last 10 years, there's been a regulated, manipulated market that has certain rules and economic pressures and inflationary pressures. So it's really a lot of bargaining rhetoric, and people shouldn't get caught up in too much bargaining rhetoric. In fact, going to your point, there have been in the last 3 weeks, I want to say something like 3,000 articles written in North America about hockey, or teams, the season, the game. Less than 2%, 2.5% of the stories have actually been on collective bargaining. So the media really isn't dwelling on it. It's a legitimate question, and I'm glad you asked it. But frankly, we're going to have a great season. We've got plenty of time to deal with collective bargaining, and if people leave the rhetoric to the side for the time being, hopefully we'll get through that, and my hope is we can reason together at the appropriate time. That is when the players are finally ready to address the issues that we all know have to be addressed, and then we'll make a new deal. That's my hope.
To take the player side here in this argument for a moment.
Why don't you take my side?
Well, I just want to play devil's advocate here. In general, all sports associations, player associations would argue, why should they help the owners? Shouldn't it be the owners who establish their own salary cap? Just say, we will only spend X amount of dollars. Why should we help the owners?
You know, that's a great question, but let's start with the following premise. It is the norm for unions to negotiate what is a fair share for their members in virtually every industry. And in fact, in professional sports, two of the major sports leagues, the NBA and the NFL, negotiate over what's a fair share of the pie for their players. In our case, the players are now getting roughly 76% of our revenues. There is no business on the face of the earth that can operate on those margins. All we want to do is pay the players fairly in accordance with what makes sense for our revenues. This isn't anti-player. This is simply, we've got to get to a place where we have 30 healthy franchises, all of which can be competitive. And with the right system, we can do that.
Sam?
I agree with you.
Well, but most important, we owe it to our fans. The inflationary pressure on tickets and the like, we've got to have the right economic system, and I'm committed to do it for the good of the game.
Well, Gary, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we talk more about on-ice issues for the rest of the year. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.